Alright, so hopefully all of you guys are having a fabulous day here today. Hopefully everybody's having a great time and everything associated. Hopefully you're ready. I'll probably you soon. Hopefully NAYUTA went well for you. Pretty much though, today we've kind of picked up the drop from the ratings for how they put up both the JP and global side, how they put up NAYUTA and how they decided she deserves to be rated when it comes to tier list rankings and other things like that. I wanted to share them with you and also kind of give you an idea here for I think why Shifter did this. And I read this from one of the Reddit comments that came through about this post, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what we said on stream. I truly think this is what Shifter thought through, and I do think for the most part it is a better philosophy than like 99% of other gachas I play. And it might be a hot take to you, but it might be the correct take in most cases. Today, let's jump into it. Let's break it down. Let's have some fun. Like and subscribe. It helps out a ton. Here we go. First things first, they officially put up the ratings for NAYUTA. We now officially have that over here. Prydwen went and rated theirs. Nikke.gg doesn't really rate theirs until like I think a week or two into the update, so we have to wait a bunch more for that one. I do kind of like how Nikke.gg's been rating things lately. I believe so. Maybe I haven't seen like the last few ratings, but there was a point where I'm like, dude, Nikke.gg cooking. So I'll check back and see what they rated, but Prydwen pretty much put up their ratings and such. They put their pros, their cons, and their ratings for NAYUTA, giving you their philosophy behind it. I also want to show you before I even start what JP rated theirs. So JP rated Crown at triple S, the strongest character ranking. So they deemed that because of all the ratings they've given Crown, they rate her at the strongest character ranking, saying that if you were to burn down your account, you make sure you take Crown with you. That's like the philosophy that the JP side has. With NAYUTA, they rated her at I think, yeah, so they rated her at double S reroll ranking, double S small fry, double S boss, S plus arena, which they deem that no, she doesn't get to be the strongest character anymore because they rated her lower elsewhere. They deemed her just to be simply SS. So again, JP, this is game with JP. They do have pretty good information for the most part, but not always perfect. For the most part, they are saying that like their evaluation on tier lists. How do I show this to you? Their evaluation on tier lists says that these are the only characters you burn down your account for. And as of now, they haven't put post everything NAYUTA onto the tier list. They simply just put NAYUTA in the rankings and such, and they for now think SS across the board. They're still debating if triple S is the process, and they had like a vote going on to see what players think, and players want her there so bad. But we'll see if she ends up getting ranked here. But for now, they put their ratings up there for double S. Prydwen said for their ranking, which if I were to pull that up for you, they say triple S in low deficit, double S in high deficit, double S in bossing, and S in PvP. The strongest B2 DPS unless Pierce Heaven. Buffs might seem underwhelming, but they are actually very impactful, offers an acceptable level of healing, a very powerful AoE cleaner, especially on stages against bosses with lots of mobs, but the damage is similar to SPS's distributed damage when a lot of mobs are around. Best B2 for Wind Week content. Strongest Rage Baiter. I thought this was a sci-fi based game. Why do they summon the Heavenly Palm? Skin appreciation post. She requires a ton of investments to be meta compared to other B2s, which mostly requires skills only. They pay off though. Which, yeah, she's very heavy build. Power and value drop off against targets without core. The value of NAYUTA goes up and down depending on element. Pierce and burst generation requirements. She competes fiercely with Aid and Grave in non-wind elements. Even on targets with core, she needs 90 seconds to ramp up her personal core damage buff, rendering parts of her kit useless in campaign stages. Interesting choice of skill sets by Shift Up this year, since they did not release any hyper meta Pilgrim / overspec units on either anniversary. The last hyper meta game defining Pilgrim being Roppy. Huh? A new year instead of a... Wait, are they saying they didn't release... Siren exists, bro. That was this year, right? Siren's hyper meta. If you don't have Siren, that's like a L to an account, bro. There are players in my comments who are begging to get either one of these three on their account. So no, Siren is meta. Was it Roppy, Siren, then this, right? Dude, they messed my brain up for a second. Whatever it was, Mahara was great too. Mahara was... Okay, I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what they're saying. Maybe I'm wrong or something. Maybe they said something wrong. I do not know what they meant. English intern overslept on release day, which has resulted in a ton of typos. So yeah, that's their ranking pretty much. If you're wondering, though, where I think Shift Up cooked, so yes, players are saying that, hey, she doesn't deserve Triple S. Hey, she does deserve Triple S. That's been like the argument all day. And I'm curious what your take is. I will say, for the most part, Crown and NAYUTA serve entirely different purposes. There's five. This is still a game that requires a 5-team meta, and if you are playing like the only content that's actually playable, minus campaign and stuff like that, it's solo raid content. And with solo raid content, NAYUTA is going to be separated from Crown. Crown's going to have her frickin' day enjoying with whatever team she wants to, while NAYUTA is going to be working with her team. That's how it's going to go. And I'm also happy in the way they've done things, and this comment really sums it up. I'm really liking the direction they go with power creep. Similar to Litter and Siren, both NAYUTA and Crown are very viable options. Just one is raw damage, the other is survivability and buffs. A lot better to have options than just release the new strongest unit of the week that makes the previous best unit obsolete. Again, you look at Alice, Red Hood, Scarlet. They're not the best anymore, but they're still really good alternatives. At the end of the day, I still like how the game has approached things. They don't just say, hey, this character is obsolete, dead. Whatever it is, again, similarly put here, Litter and Siren. Litter is still used. Siren is going to 100% be used, but maybe less use of Litter, but still used, right? In this case, Crown doesn't lose her use case. She's still an insanely good Pilgrim 1.5 years later, but NAYUTA, she didn't power creep, she didn't like decimate. She serves a different purpose. Crown can never. Crown with Chime still can't live up to what NAYUTA's damage is by herself. NAYUTA has insane damage, but then again, NAYUTA can live up to what Crown's buffs are on the outside. That's kind of how it works. You have JB players trying to prove points here because like the debate is on the JB side, like who, like is she good, is she bad, and they're trying to like get their NAYUTA to do enough damage to kind of do enough to say, see, she's stronger 100 times over, and they're literally getting NAYUTA to kind of out DPS some of the characters. This was a post kind of memeing on stuff here, but there's like a lot of tests going around and players trying to find and say like, hey, can we get that to happen? And remember, the end of the story is simply they're two separate characters. Both are for separate comps. Is NAYUTA worth it still? The answer is yes. It still is worth it. Depending on the content, depending on the boss, depending on the status, depending on what you're running to, that is kind of the entire takeaway too. And we still don't even have, and we'll see what happens if the B2 requirement is there, and if Labraglio even works that well with NAYUTA on a team. Let's see how that goes. But that's an entire thing to see too. Both of these characters are built to be win characters. Another thing that I wanted to address, also because I've seen this like originally too, this person was saying I originally expected her to be triple S in bosses, and then someone responded over here. She does great damage, but it doesn't come close to Roppy Red Hood and Cindy in single target. So her off-element performance isn't quite enough to put her in triple S, but she is likely to see use of elements, not just in Team 1 or Team 2. Someone responded, and this is the point that I agree with. She's not a burst 3 character, so comparing her to Cindy and Roppy is kind of irrelevant. In testing, I found that NAYUTA with Crown and Treasure Helm yields the highest possible damage, neutral element as well. It's just too expensive for not much additional gain in solo raid. The simplest point is, right, people compare like, hey, she's supposed to do, you know, Cindy damage, whatever damage associated. NAYUTA does insane damage. She is a B2 who is still, though not insane amounts, still providing buffs to the team and still associated to that kind of weave. She does great. I do think for the most part, they kind of knew what they were doing here when it came to designing this character. And I would say that, you know, if players feel like, oh, I expected Crown and I'm not getting Crown here, I'm skipping, be my guest and do so. But I still think that for what it is, if you are trying to take solo seriously, skipping a character like her is the same thing. It's like, I'm skipping Mahara. And remember, Mahara in how many bosses over the last 6 months still popped off and is still a top contender for DPS. It's a lot. It's a lot. If you catch my drift, right? Yes, not in everything. She clearly can't do campaign for the life of her, and she also can't do certain bosses for the life of her. But in those instances when there is a boss that works, she's God tier. But again, in that instance, so that's kind of the take of the century. I'm curious what your take is regarding NAYUTA and how you feel about this character, but she was placed over here. Pretty much, this is Lodo said though, but she was pretty much placed around, I think, where Naga is now, correct? And everyone uses Naga still to a degree, right? So let me know what you think. That is NAYUTA's current placements. Do you think she should have been placed higher on Prydwen? Currently, JP is trying to sort out if they put her triple S. For now, though, they are saying double S, but they haven't placed her yet, as they are waiting to see how the JP community burns them down or not. They're testing the waters right now, so let me know what you think.